So one of the interesting things about us wanting to grow is that we don't really want to do the work that's necessary for us to grow. And on the one hand, we want to be able to take advantage of certain opportunities in our lives. But on the other hand, when we get those opportunities, we end up just beating ourselves up and we end up making sort of excuses to not allow ourselves to take advantage of those things. So today we're going to be talking about what we can do to embrace ourselves, to grow, to change, to look really to become somebody we are want to become and really take advantage of, because so many times throughout our lives we have certain things that we want to be doing and we have certain opportunities and we're waiting for the perfect situation. And because the perfect situation is really not going to happen, and because it's not something that we should really ideally be striving for, we end up just shooting ourselves in the foot and we end up messing ourselves over. And if we could start to change things just a little bit, if we could start to shift just a little bit our perspective, our expectations of what should happen, then we're going to be able to move forward and really take advantage of the stuff that we're looking to take advantage of. So make sure to stick around to the end. If you have any questions, like always, feel free to put them in the comments. We'd be happy to share with you. So the first thing we need to recognize and really understand is that when we're looking to move forward, we're looking to change in our personal lives, we have to realize that there are certain things that are going to happen. There's certain things that are going to shift and change within ourselves. If a person is very frustrated with their relationships, if somebody's really frustrated with their financial situation, about their own way they just feel about themselves, so the way they've been going about it till now has not been working. It's something that we need to change. And people don't realize that if you want things to be different, then you have to start doing different things. And it sounds so simple, but when a push comes to shove, we're all very comfortable with all the stuff that we're used to. We're all so comfortable with everything that we go through. And because of that comfort, when change does happen, whether we like it or don't like it, there's always going to be this discomfort, which is at the end of the day not a bad thing. It just we end up looking at it as a bad thing. We think something is wrong when we have that discomfort. And what we need to recognize, and what we need to start to focus on, is that we have to start embracing the discomfort. We have to realize that that discomfort is us growing. And one of the greatest places I love talking about this is when it comes to imposter syndrome. You see, imposter syndrome is that feeling that people get when they want to put themselves out in a certain situation, when they want to be able to raise their hand and say, hey, I want to take advantage of that. Or when maybe they're in the room, maybe they're the first time they're like in the C-suite, and all of a sudden they're looking around, they're like, who am I to be here? Why am I the person that is incapable of really taking advantage of this? And because of that, they end up beating themselves up. They don't give themselves the opportunity to take advantage of the stuff that they want to be taking advantage of. And what we have to recognize and what we have to start to focus on is that we have that ability, we have that focus to allow ourselves to embrace those moments, to say, hey, this isn't a bad feeling that I'm getting right now. This emotion that I have is actually one of growth. And if we could start to embrace that feeling, then all of a sudden we start looking at it as not a negative thing, like, why do I feel so uncomfortable? Why do I feel awkward? Why do I feel like I don't belong? As opposed to saying, hey, I was somebody, I'm striving to become somebody, and now I have to do certain things. And this is that thing that I need to start to shift to allow myself to step into this new role. And if we shift it like that, that is a game changer. That is a huge, huge mindset shift that we can start to make when it comes to the idea that, hey, you know what? I want to be doing something different. I want to be living my life differently. And what's interesting is that when we're kids, we don't really think about it. We don't I have kids and I take them to like the jungle gym, and all of a sudden, like my 1 year old at first, like he was climbing up, like crawling, he was crawling up like the steps to get to the top. And at first he was so scared to go down the slide, and then he did it once, and now all of a sudden like, he just goes in this quick circle and he just does it. And when you're a child, it's so easy to just forget and to be scared, but then to take that risk and then start to move forward and really take advantage of it. But when we're adults, we psych ourselves out. We talk ourselves out of what it is that we want to be doing. Because many times it's the thing that we want to be doing. It's not something that we don't want to be doing. It's something that I want to be able to take advantage of this. I want to, be able to public speak and be able to give over some type of idea, some type of lesson, some type of experience or story that I have that I know can help other people. And for some reason, we can't get ourselves to take advantage of that. And because of that, because we're not able to put ourselves in the right position, so then all of a sudden as we end up beating ourselves up, we don't take the action. But what we have to realize is the action itself is the thing that's going to help us grow. The action itself is the courage that we need in order to gain our confidence in that moment. And once we have that shift, once we're able to move that forward, then all of a sudden everything's going to be different. We're going to be able to really take advantage of all different things in our lives. Because if you think about the things in your life that you haven't accomplished, that you haven't done, and yes, we could point fingers at everybody else, but how much of it is that you didn't necessarily put in 100%? or you didn't ask that question that you're supposed to be asking, or you know what, you didn't call that person. And if we could just start to shift that expectation and say, hey, I'm going to take responsibility, not to lower my self-esteem, not to beat myself up, but to recognize that I have the ability to change it. It gives us the power, it gives us the strength to do things differently. That could be something that could change it all. Because for so many people, they're just feeling so bad for themselves. They're constantly blaming everybody else. And because of that, they can't get out of it. They're so stuck in what it is that they're looking to do. And what we have to realize and what we have to try to figure out is, how is it that I can put myself in certain situations where I can look to grow, where I can look to become somebody? Because for too many people, they are so scared. They don't allow themselves to become that person. They don't allow themselves to do the stuff that they want to be doing. And we need to find that balance, on the other hand, because on the one hand, I know my grandmother, she always used to say the C word. And the C word was the word challenge. And on the one hand, when she was younger, she used to always challenge herself. She used to always tell herself, give herself different challenges and put herself in certain situations. And some of those challenges didn't really work out. Didn't really work out the best. And she sort of made life-changing shifts because of those challenges. And she's always warned us, whenever we said to ourselves, oh, we want to challenge ourselves, we want to push ourselves. She had like this, this this reoccurring theme in our life that, hey, that word is not a good thing. Like, putting ourselves out there is not a good thing. And for me, growing up and hearing that, I was like, hey, wait a second. Like, is it not a good thing to put ourselves out there? Is it a good thing we need to put ourselves out there? And what we have to realize is that we need to start to ask ourselves, what is a good place and what is maybe not a good place? And on the other hand, you got to ask yourself, like, when is the risk worth it or when is it not worth it? See, a lot of people get so gung ho about, like, real estate, for example. So I'm in real estate a little bit, and for people who are not in real estate, I ask them, like, why don't you invest in real estate? They're like, it's too risky. And it's only risky if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, what happened in 2008? And like in 2008, when they had the market crash, it's because people didn't know what they were doing. And the people who don't know what they're doing, even if they end up making money, because that's the type of industry it is, you can make money even if they don't know what you're doing. You're going to end up getting caught when the tide goes down. You're starting to over leverage yourselves, which for a lot of investors who know what they're doing, they're not going to be over leveraging themselves, or they know what they should be doing or how they should be doing it. And that is the key. So it's not really something risky. It's just they don't know what you're doing. And I think a lot of times when we see risk, we look at risk as something that, we can't do it, but it's only because you're not necessarily knowledgeable in it. And if we can start to work on ourselves, if we can start to focus on, hey, what is it that we can do? How is it that we can start to shift this? Then all of a sudden things start to change a little bit. Things start to look a little bit differently in terms of the actions we want to be taking. And that is something that is so powerful when it comes to the work that we're looking to do. Because if we can start to move forward, if we have this ability to really take advantage of all these different ideas, then all of a sudden we have that opportunity to take advantage of. And that is something that is so, so important when it comes to the stuff that we want. Because if you think about it, if you have a plant, let's say you have a plant. So you take a seed of a tree, and you put an apple tree and you put it in the ground and you start watering it and all this, and you're working, and all of a sudden, like, nothing's happening. And we think on the surface level that maybe like, did I do it right? Did I put in the right did I put it in the right spot? Is there enough sun? Is there enough water? And then after like weeks or months, all of a sudden you start to see this little sprout. And like, wow, this actually worked. And that feeling, that visual of seeing this seed break and really start to take a root into the ground to be able to shoot itself up. And right now it's just like this little guy. And all of a sudden it's going to become this massive type of tree. That is something that is so powerful. That is something we start to think about. Because when we're coming to grow and we're looking to become somebody, we have to realize that, you know what? At this moment, it might seem so silly. But we have to realize it's not about that moment. It's about the journey and that growth. And if we could start to take that opportunity and start to see that little growth, and then really start to just maximize it and really dig into it and look to become somebody bigger from that, that is something that could be such a shift for us. Because for so many people, they don't realize that they have the ability to start to change and start to do things differently. And because of that, they end up holding themselves back. So when we're looking to take that step, we have to realize, hey, you know what? What is it that we can do? And it's interesting because I was recently speaking to a client, and like my client was telling me, he didn't give me he didn't tell me exactly what, but he gave me pretty much a good synopsis of what was going on. He had this situation where he was very safe in his circle, and he wanted to really take his game in a specific area of his life to the next level. And he knew he needed to ask somebody to say, hey, can I be on your team, or can I do the thing, with you? And he was scared because he said, if I ask them and they reject me, then I'm losing out on my opportunity. And on the other hand, If he doesn't ask him, then he's going to stay where he is now. And I asked him, I'm like, but like, let's say you ask him and you get rejected. What's the difference? Like, you're still in the same place. He's like, yeah, but it's not the same. He said, I'm like losing out on my one ask. And what I tried breaking down with him is that we have this ability to really start to shift and start to change things for ourselves. We have to recognize for ourselves that if we want to become somebody different, what we have to start to do is we have to start to take advantage of that. We have to start to move forward and really do these things that we want to be doing in order to allow ourselves to become the person that we want. And if we could start to shift and say, hey, I'm not going to be scared of this. I'm going to get excited about this because this could be an opportunity that could change everything for me. And we actually framed it a little differently. I said, why not ask, instead of asking, hey, can I join or can I be part of this specific group that you're looking, that I want to be part of? Say, what do I need to do to get a part of this? What do I have to do? What do I have to show you? What do I have to accomplish for my own self to be able to become that type of person? And it was this big shift because he kept thinking it's a yes or no answer. And this is an opportunity where if the person's like already into him, they could be like, yeah, sure, you're in, you're joining us. And if it's a no, it's saying, hey, you just have to do X, Y, and Z. So he's still keeping the door open. And I thought that was a great shift that we figured out, because then it gives him that opportunity to really take advantage of the thing that he wants to take advantage of. So when we're looking to become someone, we're looking to do something, recognize that it's going to take the slow steps, and we have to be able to put ourselves into those situations. And like I said earlier, like, you're not necessarily going to be ready for those situations. A lot of times we're forced to do it. Like when you have a kid, like even though you're preparing maybe for 9 months, there's still, like, when the kid comes, you're like, I'm a parent, I'm a dad, I'm a mom. Like, this is nuts. And there's no really there's no like thing that, like, certificate that you get. It's like just a baby, and like once you get the baby, like, you're a parent. And what we have to realize is that a lot of times in life we're going to be put in situations and we're sort of forced into it. It's like sometimes having those like uncomfortable conversations with people that you're forced into because like that person, exploded, or that person like called you out on something, or that person cornered you and told you something or said something or is just asking you something. Then all of a sudden you are forced to have this certain conversation. And what's interesting is that life has a very funny way of making those things happen. And we could either be on the defense or it could be on the offense when it comes to these situations. And what we have to try to figure out, what we have to try to do is that, hey, what's going on here? How is it that I can start to shift it? How can I become more prepared? And how can I take the courage? So instead of me thinking about it and really beating myself up and lowering my self-esteem because I know I want to be doing this thing and taking that action and doing all of the stuff, instead I'm going to be able to say, hey, you know what? I can take advantage of this. I can move forward. I have the ability to really take and to really do the thing that I want to be doing in a slow motion, and to really build up my confidence and build up the discipline that I'm going to have in order to allow myself to become that type of person. So if we want to become somebody different, we have to start to do the things differently. And whether we like it or not, those things are going to happen to us. And for so many people, there's like this default life that people are so okay with. And if you really want to take it to the next level, like, you need to have those conversations with people, whether it's the people that you love, it could be your boss, it could be a friend of yours who maybe like is bringing you down. But what are those conversations that you need to be having to say to yourself and allow yourself to say, hey, you know what? I really need to take advantage of this. I need to be able to put myself forward, really to see what is it that I need to be doing to allow myself to take it to the next level. Because if you want things to be different, you have to do different things. And I can't stress this enough, because so many people complain and they're so annoyed, but then they wake up the same time every single day. It's like, dude, get up an hour earlier. Start learning a specific skill. Start looking for a job. People hate their jobs and they're just complaining about it. So start looking. You don't have to even take it. Just look around. Yeah, but my boss might find out. There's millions of people, billions of people in the world. You could find an area in the world that your boss doesn't know about. And if we can start to recognize, hey, what is it I can start to do? What are the small steps that I can start to do in order to change my life? Because I want my life to be different. I want my life to be more positive. I want it to be there. I want the relationships to be different. What's the one book I can read? Who's the one person I need to have a conversation with? What's the one skill I need to be learning? What's the opportunity that I need to find? And once you get in tune with that, you're going to see things happen so much quicker than you anticipate them. Because we have this expectation how things should go. And we don't realize that 1 + 1 doesn't always equal 2 in life. We think of that and we rationalize to ourselves that that's how it works, but it's not the case. We have the ability to move forward. We have the ability to take advantage of our lives. We have the availability to do things so much differently. And it's on us to make that shift. It's on us to be able to move forward. It's on us to take the initiative to change our lives. Because guess what? Nobody's coming to save us. And until we recognize that, until we know that about ourselves, it's on us to make things happen. And we can have all the support of people around us, but guess what? They'll be our cheerleaders, but they're not going to do the work for us. And it's on us to make that stuff happen. So look to take advantage. Look when you have those opportunities, don't push them away. When things get tough, ask yourself, is this something that's going to be good for me? Am I going to be able to grow and become from this? Look at it as an opportunity for you to become somebody from that. And by doing that, I'm telling you, things are going to be very different when it comes to the world that we want and the life that we want. And once you do that, things are going to be very, very different. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what comments you got down below. We'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.